Hello and welcome to this special discussion on the future of startups in Northeast. The Union Budget 2020 has come up with a relief for startups with tax on ESOPs or employee stock ownership plans deferred till the fifth year. The budget introduced a tax holiday for startups wherein companies with an annual turnover of up to Rs 25 crore will be allowed a tax deduction of 100% of its profits for 3 consecutive assessment years. What does this mean to emerging startups is something that we are going to ask our panelists today. Apart from this, what is the current status of startups in the Northeast and Assam in particular? What is the future of startups? Is proper environment being created for startups? What is the sustainability model for startups? Is the uniqueness of the region that is the Northeast kept in mind before getting on with a startup? These are questions, and there are questions galore. And to carry the discussion forward, I have with me Dr. Sriparna Barua, Head of Center for Industrial Extension at the Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, Guwahati. Welcome, ma'am, to the show. All Pro Auto Consultants co-founder Satyam Sharma also joins me. Business head Northeast and Southeast Asia for Parking Rhino Pratul Buragohai is also in the show. And we also have with us Siddharth Sekia of Automobile Technologies. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining in this discussion. I'll go straight to Sriparna Barua. Dr. Sriparna Barua, the Union Budget 2020 has definitely tried to give a boost to startups. What does these measures mean to a common startup?
The Union Budget, the first important thing which I would like to say is that Indian Budget has given a lot of, at least has been focusing on startup. This is a new development where you're looking at, startup, and one of the key issues which they're trying to look at is, having early life funding, that is the seed funding which they're trying to introduce this time, and they're trying to work on it. I think that's a very positive thing. Much would depend on how much it gets on the ground, how much it is implemented, because this is something much needed. Most of the startups, the issues that they have is first stage, the venture funding, etc., comes in much later. But what you require is to require a proof of concept. From that perspective, if this is actually done, it would be a great it will have great impact eventually, particularly for 2-tier, 3-tier cities like Guwahati, etc.
Satyam Sharma, running a startup is a continuous process, but every time a budget, the union budget is held, do you also have a lot of expectations? And what does this budget mean to you? How did you look at it, when the announcement was made? If I can start with that.
It was quite motivating to see that a lot of tax redemptions have been done with respect to the income slabs for the startups. But I believe a lot more can be done while segregating the startups on the sector-wise, and if something discrete can be worked out, I would feel that would add more value financially to the startups who are yet to strap up and get up.
Well, if I can come to Siddharth Sekia, how do you see the startup ecosystem environment in the region? I'll ask that same question to Dr. Sriparna Barua, but if I can start with you presently, what are the challenges and how do you see the ecosystem, especially in Assam?
Our company, Automobile, was started in Bangalore. Okay, then we got a seed funding from NVCL. So let me tell you, NVCL is a venture capital of NetFree. Okay. So they have started a 100 crore fund to fund companies who have a background of Northeast. So they have seed funded us, and so we have moved from Bangalore directly. We have an operation in Bangalore. The main head office is in Bangalore. We have also started in Guwahati. So, and I would like to add one more thing. Like there is a program called Ideation by NRL. On the first ideation, we won it, and we got a grant of around 47.5 lakhs.
Okay.
And I think you know about Assam Startup Nest,
yes.
which provide incubation. So it was started in 2019, right? 2019 January, and they have applied. They started accepting applications, and around 1,000 applicants were there, out of which they selected around 100 applicants. And 25 got physical incubation, and 24 got virtual incubation, and 3 of us were in the physical incubation.
So again, if I can come to Pratul Buragohain, what are the challenges? What are the challenges for a startup in the region, especially in Assam? I'm sure it is not bereft of challenges. That's why the union government again and again is trying to give a push to the entire sector. What are the challenges, if I can ask state-wise, that you face in Assam, if any, that you would want to mention, and what are also the motivating factors that keeps you going?
Yeah. Basically, if you say about challenges, so one big challenge that the startups face, especially as an early stage company, you have to prove yourself in the market, and especially if you are in a domain where there are big players like so companies, the buyers basically, they sometimes are reluctant in going ahead with the startup. So in such a scenario, we have to take a different strategy. That is, we have to show them proof of concept. So again, at times it happens that the companies look for free POC. Then as a startup who has limited resources, it becomes slightly difficult at some point of time. So that is one. And yeah, the startup and ecosystem is right now at a very growing stage in Northeast. Like as Siddharth already said, the Assam Startup Hub has been built here, and we got an excellent infrastructure and facilities from the government side, and we are really thankful to Honorable Industries Minister Chandra Mohan Patwari sir, then Pranjal Kaur sir, and also Manjula ma'am of industries. So basically, the way they have driven this facility and the infrastructure build up, we all three, I would agree that we have really benefited a lot, especially the trainings that we got from IIM Calcutta.
So basically, going to the gist of it all, Dr. Sripana Barua, is marketing also a key problem when it comes to startups? Is that where also a major part of the problem lies?
I think the first point which he had very correctly said is having the proof of concept. Marketing comes in much later. Okay, so if you look at the entire Northeast, most of us, the startups are not from the, we don't have a business environment here at all. The parents, talented young youth who would like to go in for entrepreneurship as a career, they're often not encouraged by their family. A qualified engineer, he says that I don't want to take up a job, but I want to start have my own startup. He doesn't get that sort of a support. So when you don't get that sort of a support, and then how do you start your business? You require some amount of fund initially to start your business. So the biggest challenge, apart from marketing, comes in much later. So the first challenge is, how do I have a proof of concept? For that, a lot of support is required from the ecosystem. And we talk about a startup, we talk about technology, we talk about innovation, we talk about the pitching of ideas. If you look at Northeast, the sort of people who are here, of course people who are exposed, informed, professional, for them it's a different issue. But what about young bright minds who have studied here, who have the talent, but then possibly if you give them a chance to pitch right today, they may not be able to pitch and give their ideas by pitching in a 5 minutes, 10 minute session. So what you require from the ecosystem is a lot of support to groom them up, then a lot of fund grants to help them to have a proof of concept. So these are some of the requirements, and then the education system, the industry, the department, etc. Everyone has to support, and then only the ecosystem will start emerging. Marketing, I feel, would be much later. When you cross a particular threshold, marketing will automatically start happening.
So is it that, Satyam Sharma, is it that still basically almost 90% of the startup ideas which are being implemented in the region are still necessarily being generated from outside the region, including some sort of funding? Is that the case? I'm asking you because you are into this ecosystem, into this line, or we also have pretty good number of examples of such startup ideas being generated here, done by youths from here. For instance, Siddharth here was in Bangalore, came back. We have a lot of these cases where students come back, work outside, come back. Is that still the case, or?
The story was not quite different for me, having spent 12 years in the industry and came back to Assam and started my own venture, and we have traction around 7 states, around 36 locations in the last 1 year. And my observations after working in and out of Northeast, all 7 states, is that there is potential and equal potential in each and every corner of Northeast. What is required is the platform where people can be encouraged to start thinking. Now, a startup takes birth when a person starts to think first that I will do something which becomes a business model, becomes scalable, puts an impact socio-economic way. That is where a startup actually takes birth. Now, to have that seed in the mind of a person, that environment ecosystem has to be developed at a very grassroots level, and I believe it is now taking a momentum. Meghalaya government is coming up with a facility, Mizoram government is coming up with a facility, and hopefully other states will also come up, and there is potential across Northeast for this.
But again, when most of our ideas, are generated from outside, I'm assuming that at least a good number of them are being generated from outside, or those who have had worked in the mainland outside, coming back trying to do something. We also run the risk of not really exploiting our advantages in the region. Do you think so, Dr. Sripan Abarwal?
No, not necessarily. When people come, they're exposed out and they come back with the thing that, because they know the region well. So they come back with looking at what are the potential of this region, and that is something, most of the people, they come back with, because once a person is exposed, he knows that what he or she knows what are the possibilities, and then they start looking at what is the resource available here. Of course,
how it can be used.
And of course there are a lot of sectors which have high potential, and some sort of sensitization as to what startups can happen, particularly when we look at startups in Northeast. Many of them could be social startups also, because agri is one sector having a lot of potential, tourism is the other sector. So some sort of alignment between possibilities in the ground level and what are the startup ideas which can come in even for social startups. That sort of alignment will give more ideas to people who are thinking about ideating.
See, basically the startups, it has to be a scalable idea, and moreover the business model can be replicated anywhere. Suppose if I start something in Bangalore, it has to be replicated in Guwahati.
Adding to what Siddharth is saying, I've been moving around the parts of Southeast Asia in the recent past, and what I could get a glimpse is that we have a added advantage compared to the rest of India with the Southeast Asian region. We have growing economies coming around surrounding our Northeast region. Bangladesh is a growing economy. Myanmar is recuperating up as a healthy state. These are areas where our startups can explore and really get into.
This is a good point that you have put forward. But this takes us to the next question: are we being able to exploit that growing neighborhood that we have? I mean, we have an Act East policy, but not much of our progress has been made for obvious reasons. Probably we are not looking at our immediate neighbors and looking a bit more towards the east. So it all looks good on the paper, but do you think the benefits have actually trickled down? Being in the startup industry, do you think the benefit of having that kind of neighborhood is actually trickling down? It may take some time, but has the process started? And that is to
actually we have Parking Rhino has started this engagement right now. So we are already we have already launched our platform in 4 cities of Philippines, right? And also we are right now in discussion with few of the another Southeast Asian countries, and so definitely see at some point you need to start. So you need to think global as a startup, because the startup the difference between a startup and a small normal organization is that a startup always looks for disruptive technology and for aggressive growth. That's why investors pitch in the startup. Whereas a normal organization looks for has a long-term plan, and they have some steady growth rate year on year. But startup, they look for 5x growth, 10x growth, like that.
Yeah, just to add on to that, when you say are the people taking advantage of neighboring countries, I think that depends on a little bit of proactiveness on the government side.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen in states like Manipur, etc. Recently, I was in Arunachal also, where the government has been extremely proactive in not just encouraging startups, but also looking at sectors which have potential and encouraging people to come out on those sectors. So some homework has been done by the government and then put up to potential startups also. Manipur, I've seen that with the opening up of More, etc., there's a lot of industrial parks have come up there. Even manufacturing is one sector where a lot of people have gone into. So those are things are happening. A lot depends also on the proactiveness of the government.
Have you been able to do justice to tourism and agri when it comes to startups in the Northeast? Dr. Sripin Abarwal, also come to you, Satyam Sharma.
It's just starting to happen now. It's too early to comment, but then people are looking at potentials, which is very encouraging. We have to also look at the background. See, even I've been working in the Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship for so many years now. Earlier, what used to happen, people who used to come and think about starting a business, people who were not finding any other option, right? So the type of people who were coming to do business were also basically average in studies, not finding an option, always looking at an opportunity. If I get a job, I'll go somewhere. But that trend is changing. So that's a very, very welcome sign. So I think people are looking at various options, and then so it's encouraging. So it's too early to comment whether they've been able to take advantage of tourism has explored or not. The fact that your Zero Festival is happening, people are looking at Northeast. At least if nothing else, as something as exotic place, people need to come. So that itself is an encouraging sign, and more opportunities are going to come in.
Satyam Sharma, also the same question I'll put to you, Siddharth. As someone who is running a startup, was in the ecosystem, in the industry, are we also looking equally inwards and outwards? What I mean is that when we look to multiply your growth in a small period of time, are you also necessarily looking at taking the benefits down to the last village, last district, where you can involve those people as stakeholders? Only then probably it can work as a growth engine, and also multiply your growth probably faster than you think. I mean, that's what the feeling is. And what are the challenges of even trying to do that in case you're not doing it as of now?
As far as our business model is concerned, we are in a very niche market on a B2B business to business model with distributors and automobile dealers. However, we have tried to make a presence felt when we are picking our team who are working. I make it a point that I have one representative from each and every corner of the state. Somebody from North Bank, somebody from South Bank, somebody from maybe far east of Assam, somebody from far west of Assam, so that there is a sensitization being grown. Even we are planning some training projects with some manufacturers, wherein manufacturers are saying that we want to showcase our products and expand our business on a different model through individuals. Like we want to train up people and put them in locations where they can put up their own shops, they can put up their own business entities. So this is also a byproduct of a startup creating other startups through their services and business model.
You'd like to quickly add to that?
Yeah, as our business is limited to Guwahati as of now, so basically we are an aggregator of garages. So what we do, actually, we go to each and every garages and we train them, okay, then bring them into our fold, okay. And
so that is being done only in the capital, state capital as of now?
Yeah, as of now, yeah.
Okay. So why do you think, despite, there's a lot of buzz around startups these days, but if you, go to the common man, go to the ground, go to the streets, there's hardly any awareness whatsoever as to what is a startup. Why do you think that is there? There is no...
Yeah, actually, see, the process has just started. It will definitely take time. But yeah, right now, even in the student community, especially in Assam, the Assam Indian College, Jorhat Indian, the students are coming up. Like they are looking to go for the startup ecosystem rather than going for a corporate job. So slowly it is growing up. Definitely the momentum it will take, for taking the right momentum, it will take some time. But within another 1 or 2 year, I think.
It's
It will
taking time. Like we have just started here in Guwahati, I mean Northeast. But if you do the same, if you go to Bangalore as of now, even the auto rickshaw driver, the delivery boy, everybody is talking about startup.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Google.
absolutely. Do you think that is the difference and that is the reason, Dr. Sipna Barwa, that we are still having this brain drain? Because probably we need more professional institutes teaching professional courses, or maybe our institutes that we have here, be the universities, colleges, they also need to take a different approach.
Yes, to some, yes, of course, there has to be an alignment between academia and business. That is a requirement. And although what is happening is every institution, college is now having an entrepreneurship cell, but then a course also. But then the way it is taught, some sort of an orientation even to the teachers, etc., who are involved in promoting entrepreneurship is required. That's a need, actually, instead of just making it a requirement of NAC and so you have a cell. So making that effective is extremely important, because that's how, because if you see even in institutions like all that IIST, when they do research, even the research, they're just looking at it from the research perspective, not from the sense of commercialization.
Absolutely.
So that is something very important, because the orientation of academicians to business is important, because that's how entrepreneurship is going to happen. That's how new ideas are going to come in. So research is not something different, and enterprise is not something different. I always think about an example which comes to our mind when we had taken a delegation to China. We'd gone to an industrial estate, and in that industrial estate, what we found, there was a campus within the industrial estate of the best university of China there. The reason is that that's the way academics and
Taking
industry,
it to an entirely different
level. So that's what is required.
Just
actually.
to add on to what is said, what you're saying is that this needs to be even drilled down below the university level to the elementary as well as school level as well.
Exactly.
So that the sensitization process starts and by the time a student is at class 10th or 12th, he knows which is his direction, whether he'll be entrepreneur, if not, if yes, then which is the sector he'll go. He has a fair idea of what the world is after his board exams.
And we also need to celebrate entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
That's extremely important.
The most important thing is the success stories.
Success
How many success stories we have.
See, people like them who have left. Well, I do not know much about the background. I'm sure that since you were out of Northeast and you've come back, you've given up something which is well secured and you've come back here. So we need to celebrate people
And
like them.
it may not necessarily be 100 crore per month success story, even 50 lakhs per month. I mean, which job gives you that kind of money? And more importantly, you're creating more employment opportunities. That has to be respected. I'm running short of time. Last word from each of you, starting Satyam Sharma. What do you think is the future of startups in Assam, and any bottlenecks that need to be removed immediately?
Future definitely is very bright with the initiative taken from the government end as well as society and business houses. New ideas are coming up in every sector, regardless whether it is tractionable or not. And so I feel the future is good. As far as bottleneck is concerned, at this stage I definitely feel there should be a thought given to for a accelerator program being designed, so that these startups that are coming on board and they are accelerating gets a more scalable guidance in time to come. So accelerator program would be important.
Pratul Boroga, and what could be the way forward starting from here?
starting from here, definitely, like as it has already started, but in all the colleges, like the students needs to be more educated on the startup environment, and maybe as Satyam also said, we require accelerators program. Incubation program is already there, like the some startup incubation, then Meghalaya is starting, but accelerator program is also important for the early stage startup. They need to know how to get funding, how to make business plan, all these things. Knowledge is most important.
And government has done a great thing this time, this budget. Like they have changed taxation part on ESOP. Okay, ESOP is an integral part to attract a good talent, because in a startup, idea is one part, but most important part is execution. If you don't have an A-level team, okay, if you don't attract good talent, you will not be able to execute your ideas properly.
Sriparna Barua, Dr. Sriparna Barua, final words from you. How is the current ecosystem, startup ecosystem in Assam, and what needs to be done? Can the process be fast-tracked, or we have to be patient and it has to take its natural course of time? What are your views?
See, startup is definitely going to be the answer. because if we want to pull the economy, startup, we are looking at 5 trillion economy by 2025, and 1 trillion has to come from the startups. That's very clear now. So there is no other option. Only thing is that we need to sort of encourage more and more startups. We need through my experience, what I've seen is a lot of funding and support has to be, even for people to get incubated, they have to be groomed to even get incubated. So a line of people who can actually be incubated also needs to be created. So there the role of your colleges, institution like ours, and for the first time we are experimenting this time that giving grants to good startup ideas. This is an initiative we are taking from the institute, and I think this is going to be a pilot in which we've already asked for ideas. We want to give 20 best ideas. We'll be giving a grant of 5 lakhs each from each of the states. And from there, we'll go to seed money. And I'm sure with NEC supporting, this is going to play a role in creating the ecosystem.
So definitely there is an atmosphere of hope. More people are taking to startups. Things have started taking shape. Yes, the ideas may be coming from outside. It's our youths going outside, getting the experience, coming back, trying to do something here. It may be more time till we catch up with the rest, some of the industrial hubs of the nation. But if the Act East policy falls in place, there is nothing stopping the Northeast. That's the basic discussion that we did today, and I'm sure there is hope, and of course the education institutes have a big role rather to play in all this. On this note, it's a wrap of this special discussion.